Welcome everybody to the 70.3 Oceanside highlights, where the Norwegian trio had arrived to begin their 2025 Ironman Pro Series campaign. Christian Blumenfeld calling it the comeback year, and would this be the race where he could get it all started? We had many other names here, including previous winners. We had lots of guys chasing the Pro Series, and then we had so many others kicking off their year, some rivalries being formed. But the big name that everybody was keyed into to watch out for was defending champion Lionel Sanders. Would he be able to do it in such a stacked field? Well, he was looking pretty calm and relaxed, showing up a little bit late to the announcements before the start, and then looking pretty relaxed before going into the swim in a new sailfish wetsuit for this year. He also had on a brand new tri kit for the year as well underneath that. But the men got into the water and kicked off. It was cold enough water that they even considered shortening the swim the day before, but thankfully for the top swimmers like Greg Harper, it was a full swim, and unsurprisingly he led the men out of the water, averaging a 1:11 pace per 100. Such a fast swimmer, and he managed to break the field up a bit, just bringing with him the likes of Seth Ryder as well as Kasper Storn, as he was the first Norwegian out the water by quite a bit. They were even 40 seconds up on the likes of Ben Canoe and Justin Riale, and a little further back than him in the same group was Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden, as well as the likes of Braden Curry, Rudy Von Berg. It was a strong pack, and these guys would be looking to get to the front of the bike as quick as possible and get a gap on the likes of Patrick Lange, who came out 2 minutes down out of the water. Not the best swim for him. And then Lionel Sanders, he was 3 minutes 11 down out of the water, but 3:30 out of T1, taking his time in transition there. But he was on for a special day on the bike, and it didn't take him long before he started making inroads. But Christian at the same time actually outrode Lionel in the first 12 miles of the bike. He was the fastest on course, taking over 14 places to get to the front of the ride. And then just before he could make any serious moves, disaster struck. He unfortunately took a bad line on the road, which meant that he went through some bad debris and picked up a puncture. So that meant he was down and out waiting for the on-course mechanical support to replace his front wheel. And then there was nothing he could do to keep himself in contention from this race, just losing too much time. However, his other fellow Norwegians were still hanging in there at the front of the bike ride, Kasper Storns and Gustav Iden. But Justin Riale was the man to take the race by the horns next. He eventually made an attack up the last climb to create a gap from the 9 other guys who were in the pack with him, and nobody went with him. That meant he found himself coming into T2 alone. He actually caught me off guard. I didn't get any footage of him coming into transition. However, I did catch Rudy Von Berg. He was the next person to separate himself from the group, getting about a minute. So Justin Riale at about a minute and a half coming out of T2 on everybody. Rudy Von Berg then behind him, looking super strong. Seth Ryder, Ben Canoe, Gustav Iden, all following closely behind. And then Lionel Sanders was next after that front group. He'd caught up about 45 seconds from the swim, and it looked like it might be just too much to catch up on the run. However, he seemed great running up the hill, and it was full steam ahead, aiming to run around 1:09 coming out of transition, and just hoping that would be enough. But others behind Lionel and this strong front group weren't having as much luck. The likes of Braden Curry was dropped quite a bit, but he was the first of the major Ironman Pro Series players to come into transition. Patrick Lange was much further behind him, having another rough day at a 70.3 and again in Oceanside, but it was nowhere near as bad as the day Cameron Worth was having. He forgot to tighten his handlebars, which is catastrophic considering he also had bad bike luck in Geelong recently. He managed to get it fixed on the bike with some help. However, he was still disqualified from the race because of the speed limit that's enforced on the military base, and found that out in T2. He still went on a run, but it meant he was out of the race. But back to the run, and Lionel Sanders had, after 5 miles, overtaken the likes of Ben Canoe. Sam Appleton moved up into 4th place. Seth Ryder, Rudy Von Berg, and Gustav Iden were just ahead of him coming down the pier. but Lionel looked clearly the best, and it looked like it wouldn't be long before he took the lead. Otherwise, Justin Reale, who came out first, was really struggling, not having enough run training in his legs, he said. And Jacob Birtwistle, just behind them, he unfortunately had to serve a penalty before coming into T2. He could have had a real shot at the win here, but this kind of cost him. We'll get to that at the end. Christian Blumenfeld, despite being out for the count for the win, was clearly running the fastest on course, eventually running a 1:07 course record split, the fastest by a couple minutes on the day. And it's probably safe to say if he would have come up the bike in the position he probably would have been, this was his race to win. But sometimes that's just how luck strikes, and Lionel was taking full advantage of that as he ran consistently and didn't need to quite run that 1:09 pace he thought he might have to take the win, eventually running a 1:11. Such a solid performance from somebody who gets so much criticism, and it looks like he really took it out on that finisher's tape. It clearly still means so much to him, winning in front of his son Levi and in front of such a raucous crowd of fans who absolutely adore him. Rudy von Berg then following up his third place in Kona with an impressive second here to kick off his pro season. Gustav Iden then just behind Rudy, couldn't hang on to him, ended up in third place. What a start to his season. Good to see him back. Seth Ryder just falling behind in fourth, and Ben Canoe edging out Birtwistle for fifth place. Birtwistle finishing 2 minutes and 15 seconds back from the first place position. If he hadn't got that penalty, anything could have happened for him as well. And then I finally have to mention the rivalry between Justin Reale and Ari Clow. They had a bet going into this race that if Ari lost to Justin, he had to shave his mustache, and if Justin lost to Ari, he owed Ari $500. So in the end, Ari just managed to get him running a 1:09 impressively to take ninth place. Probably his best performance ever. But we have to move on to the women's race because another fantastic race happened over here. It was the likes of Jackie Herring, Danielle Lewis, Tamara Jewett, all hoping to take down pre-race favorite Paula Findlay, as well as the likes of Lisa Gutierrez, Grace Alexander, Stephanie Clutterbuck, who all possess unique skills that could really change up the race. And especially in these super cold conditions in the morning with some wind that they'd have to contend with early on the bike, anything was possible. But as they got under the way, it was no surprise that Stephanie Clutterbuck was the one to be pushing the pace at the front of the swim. But Lydia Russell was there as well as Grace Alexander. But Paula Findlay was right there on her heels, having a fantastic day in the water. So was Jackie Herring as well, just 52 seconds back from that front group, putting her in a good position to start the bike. Further back from her was a much bigger group that included the likes of Tamara Jua and Lisa Gutierrez. Just 2 minutes back was a really good time for them. Within touching distance, Alice Alberts there as well. And I have to give a massive shout out to Alice here. I didn't quite catch it on camera, but after she'd finished taking off her wetsuit here, if you look in the background, Kaidi Kvyovia was really struggling with her wetsuit and ended up getting so desperate she was calling out for help because she could not get it off. Alice Alberts graciously reached over and managed to get it unstuck to really save Kaidi Kvyovia some serious time there in transition. The other big name to mention out of T1 was Danielle Lewis, 4 minutes 54 seconds down out of transition. Quite a big margin, but nothing she couldn't overcome on the bike as she's done before. On her new Ventum Tempest bike, which she told me afterwards is now 4 pounds lighter than her old felt bike. So she was definitely excited to get out onto that bike course and chase them down. Immediately onto the bike, and I knew something was up with Paula, though. She wasn't having her best day like we've seen her on the bike before, not growing to the front of the ride and letting Jackie Herring catch it up to them, making it a front group of 4, which would stay that way for quite a while. But the biggest mover coming from behind was Lisa Gutierrez. She would end up with the fastest bike split and actually come into T2. A little bit of a gap to Paula Findlay and Jackie Herring to start the run, which I think surprised a lot of people, including myself. I thought Paula would be able to go off the front of this group, but she said afterwards, admittedly, it wasn't her best day on her new custom painted bike. But it didn't mean she was having a rough day altogether. She was hanging in tough on the run as Lisa Becerras led out a good portion of the run. Jackie Herring sitting in behind her as well as Paula Findlay. Eventually, though, after a few miles, she would relinquish that lead and the battle would really begin between Herring and Findlay. Two close friends who had done some training together in the lead up to the race. They would be neck and neck. And by 6 miles in, it looked like it was Herring's to win. She was 30 seconds up on Paula Findlay, but Paula paced it so well, she resurged and she overtook Jackie Herring with a few miles to go. She said on her podcast, this is a brutal course, and every time says she's not going to do it again. But I bet she's glad again that she did, picking up yet another 70.3 win and making it a double win for Canada as well, with Lionel winning on the men's side. Jackie Herring then finishing just behind her, but not losing many Pro Series points at all in the beginning of her campaign. And then Danielle Lewis, what a run from her, 1:18:30, second fastest run split of the day. And then she picked up the final spot on the podium. Tamara Jewett then finished in fourth place with a 1:17 run split, 4 minutes back from the front. But if she'd ran her 1:12:59 like we've seen her run before, she would have been right up there for the win. But she just misses out on the podium. But what a great day of racing on both the men's and the women's side. It really does feel like the season has started now and Pro Series points are being dished out. And we've got now a lot of data of where people are coming out of their off season. I'm so stoked. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you in the next one, the big one coming up, Ironman Texas. We'll see you then. Have a good one.